a grown-up friend of mine, one whose name you might even know, someone that is a member of Jackass cast, whose name I won't say. But he was recalling this one night that he had a run-in with a woman, and he's like, I didn't have a condom, so this was early on in his showbiz career too. He probably grew much more reckless and promiscuous, but he's like, so I had this like piece of plastic from like a skateboard wrapper or something, and a rubber band, and I tried to use it as a condom. I used that as a condom, and I like.
That's so gross.
And I couldn't get it up, and then she was on top of me, and then she just spit a big loogie on me. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Chris Pontius. This is my wife, May. And I think today, just to let all the pressure off, we're going to do a little unboxing of our latest product for the world. This here, we proudly present Pontiusaurus.
I have mine unboxed.
Of course. It's, as you can see on the bottom, it is not a toy. It's a stress reliever. Yeah. And I sometimes squeeze mine when I get excited. But yeah, this is something that we've been wanting to bring out to the world for a long time now. It's based off, the kaiju monster at the beginning of the Jackass Forever movie. One of my proudest moments. One of our technically greatest feats we ever did on Jackass. We knew it would drive everyone wild, so we had to make this. It's not to scale, but it's shaped kind of based on the real thing, the real monster.
It's big. It's good.
I don't know what people are going to do with it, but yeah, we use them to relieve stress. And it is a choking hazard, as it says on the bottom. So, keep that in mind as you get one, whatever, when you bring yours home. But these are very soon going to be available for sale on chrispontius.com. This is our first time recording this show, and we figure, why plan things? Like, let's just let it take a life of its own.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that people ask me that haven't been answered, like in interviews. And one of them is, how did this all start? And I'll tell you. It started with skateboarding, actually. All of Jackass, all WILDBOYZ, this career, this life. It all started with being a skateboarder, and I think. From how I got into it was not the origins of Jackass. How did you get into it? How did I get into it?
I never watched it.
Yeah. You still are not that familiar with Jackass or WILDBOYZ, and you'll suggest these ideas, and I'll be like, that was on Jackass, that was on WILDBOYZ, like over and over, and then I realized that you're never a fan. You never even watched the show, but you happen to be friends with our director of photography, Dmitry Eliaskovich, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
And it turns out that years before any of us met, in 1999, I was at a skateboard demo, and I ran into Dmitry in Australia. I ran into Dmitry, who was on tour with Audio Shoes, and May lived somewhere in the general area of Sydney, and years later, I didn't run into May, didn't meet her or anything. But years later, I was at her parents' house, like 16 years later, we were looking at her photos, and I was like, I see pictures from that demo, and I even saw Dmitry, and I was like, oh my God, I was at that skate demo randomly, and I ran into Dmitry, and it turns out that May was there too.
But I would have been jailbait.
You would have been jailbait at the time, so it was good that we didn't meet. But it's amazing that years later, we met through the other person that was there.
Right.
And that's how we
And
we
it was
met.
his birthday party. And it was in passing, though, because I was asking where Cheetahs was.
Strip club. I heard a woman asking directions to a strip club, and I immediately answered, giving the directions. Not that I would know, but they all ended up having a great time at the strip club.
Yeah.
I had to get home to take care of my dogs. But it was only a matter of time before
that was a wild night.
Destiny would strike. I know.
Dimitri.
It sounded like it was a great night. You guys brought strippers home with you.
Yeah.
Had a great time with them. But then I went to a Motorhead concert randomly, and once again ran into May, and that's really when we started hanging out and planning some adventures, and that's how our life together began, and now
here we are.
Here we are, with a child and all.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are making this show. So, how did I get into Jackass? I was a skateboarder, and it got suggested that this magazine, Big Brother, that was owned by Steve Rocco, who owned World Industries, started, and it was suggested that I get interviewed for the magazine, and I didn't even really want to do it. And my friend Thomas Campbell, who was a skate journalist and a good friend of mine, and went on to become this famous artist, but he's like, "Yeah, I'll interview you and I'll do it." And I was like, "I don't want to do an interview," but I did it, and my interview was pretty wild. And I appeared in the magazine nude, under 18, swinging my penis around, and it set off quite a bang. And from then on, he was like, "I think you should contact the guys at the magazine. I think you'd be a good fit." So I called up Jeff Tremaine, and I was like, "I think I should work for your magazine." He's like, "I think you should too." And then I gave him. I had a bunch of like stories I'd written, and they published one of my stories called "18 Ways to Be an Asshole," and then that's how it all started.
Yeah.
And I ran around, doing stuff with Big Brother for the next 8 years probably. And as this time, we started making skateboard videos, and really it was just all of our dumb stuff, and skateboarding was like the vehicle for it. And meanwhile, Spike Jonze, was getting really big into music videos, and then we got bought by Larry Flint and ended up in Hollywood. And it just evolved into like filming more and less magazine. And then they put a pilot together of all the crap that we'd filmed. And I didn't even know what I was going to do on it, because it was like Johnny Knoxville was asked by MTV to like film like a game show or some show, and he didn't really want to do that, but because he had come to Hollywood to like make it as an actor. And then in Big Brother, he was doing these self-defense tests and letting himself get run over by cars, and shot himself with a bulletproof vest and did all these crazy things. And I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just kind of ended up in it. But
did you know Knoxville before?
I knew he worked with Big Brother, at a point, like years into it. I think he knew Spike or
that's how he got into it.
Yeah. Something like that.
And then Tremaine, how did he get into
Jeff
it?
Tremaine, he worked for like Snowboarder magazine, or like I think he worked for a BMX magazine originally, maybe Freestyling. But
makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
He came in as like
that.
art director for Big Brother, and then he just became kind of the director of the magazine. And
that's how Aaron and Dave, because they were snowboarders, or no?
No, Dave was a snowboarder. He worked for Blunt, which was the guy that started DC Shoes. Ken Block's had a snowboard version of Big Brother, and Blunt actually, snowboarding got really huge. It got, at one time it was the biggest thing in the world, and so Larry Flint, eventually Big Brother absorbed Blunt, and Larry Flint wanted to have a snowboard magazine, so he bought Blunt, and Big Brother just came with it. And then snowboarding the kind of crashed, and it was just Blunt. I mean, it was just Big Brother. But that's how we started hanging out with Dave England. And but he was a pro snowboarder. Aaron knew Whitey, who was a snowboard filmmaker, and he was just a guy that worked at like the skate shop, and somehow like Whitey brought him into the fold. And no, when Jackass wasn't really cast, it was just like there was this huge group of us.
It was just perfect. It was a perfect harmony,
it
right?
It was never cast, and there was different people that we thought would have been in it more, and the people that stuck were just kind of the ones that like really came out to film.
Like who?
Like Aaron, I wasn't set as a cast member, but like every time there was something to film or an idea, I was there. I was just like, yeah, I'm ready to film.
Clyde Singleton?
Clyde Singleton was supposed to be on it more, but some of the things that he wanted to film, or they didn't work out, or when you're actually filming stuff, like sometimes people realize like they don't really like being filmed that much, like, or they like it's Clyde Singleton they were really afraid of, because he's black, and he had a bit called Ghetto Surfing, and he was trying to surf.
MTV was afraid of that, right?
MTV got horrified. He was surfing. He tried to go surfing on an ironing board, and MTV was afraid of the race thing, and so that never got to air. And basically, everything that Clyde wanted to film, who's the funniest guy in the world, like, you know, was race related, and they were scared of it, and so yeah, that was a topic that really scared MTV. And then, as you know, some kid got hurt on Jack, like during, we had some bit that had fire in it, and even though we did it with a professional pyrotechnist person and it was totally safe, and there's warnings and everything, some kid lit his skateboard on fire, which had nothing to do with it, and got burnt, and his parents tried to blame it on Jackass, and Senator Lieberman like ran this whole campaign on getting attention from wanting to like bring Jackass down. And then MTV got super strict on Jackass, and like if we were filming and it showed someone step into the street and it didn't show that the street was closed off, we couldn't use the shot. It got ridiculous. So Jackass was going to get watered down so heavily, and so we just ended it and thought we would never do it again. And that was it. You know, I had this little time on TV, and then I was going to move on to the next thing in life. And then the idea for the movie came about. And
because you could get more stuff and get away with more stuff on movies.
In the movies, you can you can get away with anything because you just make it rated R, and it's different than TV. But that's how the movie happened.
Well, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. But basically the lesson to be learned here is, you know, surround yourself with like-minded people that have the same dreams as you, and just see where it takes you.
I think everything came full circle because, like, we know a lot of people.
We do.
From different circles, right?
We have this giant family of people that know each other because they'd all be people that would meet each other because they're all of the same mindset. And like that's why
Tom, I met you through just skating, just knowing the skater kids, and I was doing this. Yeah. In Hollywood. I just moved to Hollywood.
I met Ira, same deal.
Yeah, I mean it's a small circle, and that's then the fact that you know Trip as well, and you've worked with Trip, that tripped me out. So that was another thing too,
that's why when you go to like Chicago and you run into someone and they happen to know all these people that you know or someone you know, it's just the way it works because. Of course you would meet that person because they would know someone that you know.
I think it's a lesson.
It's not that random.
Don't be an asshole, right? Like, don't be a dick to people you meet because you never know.
That's a side lesson of it, but really, it's just like people attract other people, similar people.
Because I'm scared of that. I'm scared of actually going like, oh, don't you know who I am? And someone's like, yeah, I do. I do know who you are. Or I'll see them in like a parking lot. Or at a kids' school event, you know what I mean?
I have a big problem with not knowing who anybody is. Like I've had so many run-ins with celebrities in my time in showbiz, and I don't know who they are, and I end up talking to them for a long time.
Like who?
Well, I've talked about this on another podcast before, but I ended up meeting Leonardo DiCaprio once. He came up to me, and I guess he loves animals, and he was talking to me about WILDBOYZ and sharks and all these things, and I ended up talking to him for like an hour, like. And then later that night, like I like saw him. He passed by me on the street, like, and said bye. And he was with like some gnarly, like, you know, tall woman. Like it was probably like Giselle or something.
Like a model, like a beautiful
like I was
model.
like that dude has a ridiculous girlfriend. Like, and then the next day, like my friend's like, oh, when you were talking with Leo last night, I was like, that was Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I was like, no way, I had no idea. Like, and then I've met so many celebrities, I had no idea that they were who they were. So,
but because everyone's so low key, you don't walk into a room and go, "Hey, I'm so and so," or "I'm blah blah blah." You don't.
Oh, the real stars.
You don't really walk into a room like that.
The ones that act like dickheads are the fly by night stars, like the Jersey Shore people. Like, you know, like I've never met them, but I know people that have, and you know the ones that are like cool for like a year.
I think the celebrities that know that they're celebrities are actually super nice because they just know who they are and they're comfortable with themselves. Yeah. But like, I've met a lot, like living out here and working in the industry that I used to work in. Like you meet a bunch of celebrities, and like the nicest ones are the ones that you're just like, oh shit, like you're fucking cool, like
Yeah, the lamest ones are these fly-by-night ones that are. There's a lot of people, and all this time I've seen people like that were like the biggest thing in the world one year, like especially musicians, and then like if I said their name, you wouldn't even know them because you forgot them already, and I never knew their name in the first place. But I saw them like getting an award at some stupid award show. But that actually made me think of another thing, like when you said, you know, when people are like, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah.
I want to see that happen. I know of it happening in people's life. I heard of Andre Agassi doing it.
Julia Roberts' big mistake. Like you want to do that huge.
Yeah, like a life of being like Pretty Woman. I have been Pretty Womaned. And,
yeah, he has. He definitely
has.
A
lot of skateboarders have. Like, I know a few like pro skaters that like, you know, when they've turned pro, you know, they look like these grubby skaters and they go into the dealership and like maybe get snubbed off and no one pays attention to them, and then they're like, fine, and then they walk to the dealership across the street and pull out with a new car, new sedan. I know that happened with Alan Peterson. At Honda, they were really rude to him. He walked across the street to the Saturn dealership, got himself a new Saturn. It's a true story.
Didn't we meet Alan out in Australia? Oh,
yeah, we ran into him. We were doing a show and we were in the green room, and this dude walks in and he's just looking at me. I knew Alan Peterson very well back in the day, and we were in a show in Brisbane, Australia, and this guy's looking at me. He's like, just staring at me, and I was like, who's this? And I hadn't seen him in 20 years. He's like, it's me, Alan Peterson. And I'm like, oh my God, you always did love Australia, and then like we had a great time, but yeah, like it was amazing running into him.
Hey, it's a small world.
You know, I just thought of something like as you know, you talking and like one conversation leads to another. Have you ever heard of like, I was remembering like a friend of mine, like when he first tried to have sex, like was telling me about like putting the saran wrap. You've probably had a friend or a friend of a friend's told you about putting a saran wrap around their penis because they didn't have a condom, and then wrapping a rubber band around it. Like, because as a makeshift condom, like to have sex. And I remember someone telling me that like when they first tried to have sex, like mentioned that. It was a friend of a friend's, but I actually heard him telling the story. But I gotta tell you what, since then, that was when I was younger, a grown up friend of mine, one whose name you might even know, someone that is a member of JACKASS cast, whose name I won't say. But he was recalling this one night that he had a run-in with a woman, and he's like, I didn't have a condom, so. This was early on in his showbiz career, too. He probably grew much more reckless and promiscuous, but he's like, so I had this like piece of plastic from like a skateboard wrapper or something and a rubber band, and I tried to use it as a condom. I used that as a condom, and I like...
That's so gross.
And I couldn't get it up, and then she was on top of me, and then she just spit a big loogie on me. And it was a crazy story. Like, it was the loogie part of it just seemed like she was like abusive, but I don't know if it was because she was abusive or like I saw him walk off with the girl, but I knew nothing about her.
Oh my God, Chris. Jesus.
She apparently was an employee of European MTV, but
yeah, we're not gonna say.
No, we're not. We're not. No, I don't. I would not know her name.
We don't even know where she works.
That's the last I saw her.
Maybe it was not MTV. Maybe it was, Eurovision or something.
She was German. She was German. She spit a loogie on him. Okay. Now it makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
He walked off with the German woman. He tried to use a piece of saran wrap or plastic and rubber band as a makeshift condom. And then she spit on him, a big loogie.
I'd be appalled.
Yeah, I would be appalled too. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't think it's safe. I
think it's an insult.
I think it's just messed up.
Were they in Germany? Like, can you
Switzerland, they were.
Oh, okay. Well.
But yeah, he told me that, and I just thought it was ridiculous and hard to believe. But I know it was true. The spitting part he told me first, but then the part about the makeshift condom, and I was just blown away that people actually, grown men actually do that. Like, and they think it's gonna make sex safe or like. Well, even sexual.
I mean, okay, so that is a skateboard wrapper over there.
Yeah.
That doesn't look cool at all. Like
no, and you wouldn't want.
Look how flimsy this is. We're gonna get it.
It's so sticky.
They often have holes in them too.
Well, and this is a good one. That's a skateboard wrapper. So there's holes in it.
Yeah, there are holes in them. So he took this
everywhere.
and he wrapped it around his penis. We attached it with a rubber band.
There's a hole right here.
It's gone. So he used one of these as a condom. And maybe that's why she spit the loogie on him. Now it all makes sense. I thought she was just an abusive woman. But I think she was insulted. So...
I would be. That's an insult.
I would be insulted too. Now I know why she spit on him. Now it's weird how when you talk things over, like it all, the truth comes out. Like first I was just like, oh, what an abusive woman, like
skateboard rapper,
what a freaky
condoms.
German woman. Like now we're like, oh yeah, now it all makes sense. Yeah, he insulted her with that, in a romantic way. That's disgusting. That's stupid. It's just stupid.
Saran wrap would have been better.
He didn't have any, I guess. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But he had that. So he found
I know that he had.
I
know that I think he had a skateboard on hand that he needed to assemble. So I figured I kind of made up the part that it was a skateboard rapper. Let's edit that part out though. Let's say it was a skateboard rapper. For the sake of stories, this podcast is really coming together.
This is way better than the intro part.
God. How long have we been talking now? I never even knew. All these years of knowing like one part of the story and then the other part of the story. Now it all makes sense. That's what this show's all about is getting to the bottom of things.
So you have a really famous character. Well, you have a few actually. Like you have Partyboy, you have the Devil,
Bunny the Lifeguard,
the Garbage Man, and who else do you have?
Well, those are some of the main ones. Pontius the Barbarian.
Oh yeah,
that was at the Ren Fair. I'll tell you, the first one that was born of those was Bunny the Lifeguard, and I'll tell you the story of that.
Okay, please.
So before I even filmed with Jackass, I didn't like I said earlier, I didn't know what I was going to do on Jackass. And they were going to go film with Knoxville. This is before it was ever on TV, and they were just basically running around with a video camera. And they're like, he's gonna try to jump over the LA River on roller skates. And there's this little gap in the LA River with the little like sub river going through the middle of it. And it's a pretty big gap, and he doesn't know how to roller skate or really do many like sports that take big coordination. So Knoxville was going to go try this, and they wanted to use my truck so I could haul the ramp. And so I went with them, and in my truck I had this thing I called my bag of tricks, which is all these costumes. So we get to the LA River, and I just start pulling out a bunch of different things from the costumes. I had like some tight like spandex shorts, a G-string that a friend of mine gave me from the Bargain Barn that had never been washed, a flowery bra, and bunny ears, and these like crazy like wrestler type glasses. And I put them all together, and that was Bunny the Lifeguard. And I just jumped into filming, and I was the lifeguard of the LA River. And that's how Bunny was invented. And it just came from my bag of tricks. And that's why like Bunny wears the thong over the 10-speed shorts or the biking shorts. It wasn't to like be modest or tease anything. I just put a bunch of things together.
Yeah.
Which
I think those costumes like speak for themselves.
They speak for themselves, yeah. So yeah, that's how Bunny was formed, and it does lead us to another question that people ask me like early on and forever. What was with all the thongs? I'll tell you what's with the thongs. They're a lot sexier than full back panties. But no, I'm just kidding. They are though. But the reason why on Jackass the thongs got brought into the fold so much was. On TV, there's a rule that we want to be naked because everything's just 10 times funnier when you're naked for some reason. And it just is. And also when you're naked, once you like take all your clothes off, you don't have any more, you have nothing left to lose. So it really strips you of all your inhibitions. And that's when you feel totally free to like be yourself or just film. That's when you're ready. And, so anyway, you want to be naked, but you can't be naked on TV. But there's a rule: if you have something in between the butt cheeks, it makes it not nudity as far as the TV rules go. So whether it's a piece of tape you run down your butt crack or a G-string, it's a loophole in the rules. So that's why we wore the thongs.
So it doesn't matter how thick.
No, just
something.
The rule is no spreadable cheeks. So like sometimes if you're watching Jackass, you'll see like a piece of duct tape down someone's butt crack or whatever. It's just as long as there's something covering the crack. it's not nudity. So that's how we got away with it all. And that's why we wore the G-strings. I mean, there's many reasons to wear them. I thought they looked cool on me. But that's also a benefit of them was that it allowed us to be pretty much naked without, having to blur anything. Because blurring just looks bad, and it's a lot of work on the editors and.
Oh yeah, you're thinking of post.
Yeah.
Thinking of those guys.
Thinking about the editors.
Thinking about the editors.
I'm not.
You're like,
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not really thinking about the editors, but not to see a man totally naked. Not everyone has the stomach for it all of the time. Sometimes none of the time, and it depends on the man. But
Ira's going crazy right there.
But really, in a G-string, everyone looks great. No matter what your body type.
It's true.
Yeah, it is true.
It is true, though.
Everyone looks great in a G-string.
Because it's like,
it's true.
you look good.
Yeah. That's why when I've seen people like, if maybe they're not totally happy with their figure and they wear maybe a little less daring bathing suit, they actually would look like more to their goals with their desires if they wore less, maybe
less
a G-string.
Is more.
Less is more.
Less is more.
Always. So you should always wear a G-string. Maybe not as your normal underwear, but if you're not going to be wearing anything else, you should strip down to a G-string.
Yeah.
G-string, actually, a lot of people don't know it, is the original article of clothing. The first clothing that humans ever wore was a G-string. Thong, as some people call it. I call it a G-string.
G-banger.
G-banger in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Thongs are definitely a thong over there. Yeah.
Yeah, thong, which...
G-string is here.
I looked up the origin of the name G-string. I forgot.
What did the G stand for?
Guy.
Genital.
Guy. It's a guy string.
Genital string.
They're made for men originally.
Okay. See, I was guessing.
No.
Guessing.
No, I can't remember. Something stupid though that didn't make sense. But we can call them thongs. I just think G-string sounds funny. But yeah, that is the original article of clothing that people wore because, when you're running around, like when people weren't quite people yet, they were somewhere in between. It was a simple thing to make, but you have to protect that part of your body if you're not wearing clothes because obviously, for hygiene. Yeah. Have you ever been camping? You, the audience I'm speaking to right now, out in the jungle and had to use the restroom, and early in the morning, first thing you woke up, and all of a sudden you look down, there's a mosquito on your private spot. It's horrible.
Or a tick.
Or a tick. Yeah,
tick.
I've had both, and I'm pretty comfortable in the outdoors type of guy, as you know.
Yeah.
But I hated it. I hated the tick on me, and I hated the mosquito on me, and I wished I had a G-string handy. But
was the tick anywhere near?
The tick was right above my wiener.
Okay.
It was in Australia where ticks are horribly bad.
Ticks are
I was camping with Thomas Campbell.
There.
We were on a surf trip up the coast, camping in his van. I woke up and I felt something big, right.
Did it have blood
in
it already?
It was attached. It was attached in the middle of the night. And
How did you get it off?
I looked up Australian ticks and they're
Did you burn it?
I pulled it right out.
No, I think you're supposed to get a match,
I think
and
I
then
did
you blow
burn
it
it
out,
that
and
one.
then you stick it right on because the head's still hot.
I've used that technique, and I used one or the other on this one.
And then you pop it in the fire, and it goes.
I was just in the van on the side of the road,
okay.
But I might have borrowed some matches or something. I got it out real quick.
Because it's not good because you can get an infection because the
it can
little
cause
bits.
Paralysis, these Australian ones. So
Lyme disease.
I had a little Australian guidebook and I looked up ticks right there. And I was like, I better get this out of me. Actually, I was already getting it out of me. But then the mosquitoes on your private parts are horrible. So that's when G-strings came about, And the natives swimming around the Amazon, if they go pee in the river, that little catfish could swim up your urethra. And
what's the catfish called?
It's called a kangaroo.
Kangaroo, yeah.
And it could ruin your life.
Yeah.
So when you're in the Amazon, it's not the piranhas.
Don't
or the
pee in the water.
Or the anacondas you have to worry about. It's about peeing in the water.
Yeah.
Do not pee in the water. Pee on the riverbank.
Wasn't there a guy that he put a net around his penis Like, remember we were watching
skateboard?
No. Skateboard rapper.
I think it was a skateboard rapper.
No, but like we were watching that show. Like, was it 90 Day Fiance? It was. And he went into the Amazon and he put like a net. He bought a special net for the penis.
I gotta tell you something about the Amazon.
Okay, you want to pee in the Amazon?
No, the Amazon River is. They always warn you about piranhas and crocodiles, caimans actually. And anacondas, but the thing of course you have to worry about is the little things. It's always the little things that'll kill you. But you probably know that already being from Australia. But anyway, the Amazon, what some people don't know is piranhas are the most skittish fish that you ever have met.
Yeah.
It's next to impossible to try to film in the water with piranhas. I actually watched a documentary about a guy trying to film piranhas in the wild, and he had to travel far and wide to like try to get it. We had all these piranhas like eating like some bait, like jumping out of the water and everything, cleaning eat it out real quick. The minute you jump in the water, they're gone. Like
I think it's like a dying animal.
If it's a dying animal,
it's a
I think
dying
it can
animal,
happen.
and it's like the blood. It's attracted to the blood, and I think it's more like
if you want to swim with them,
I think it's
like,
fine.
For pleasure, or try to film them, it won't happen. The guy finally went to this place called the Pantanal, which is this other wetlands in Brazil that in a completely different region where it's really clear, and he was able to get footage, but it was next to impossible to do it. But yeah, so piranhas, whenever you hear someone's be like, oh, you wouldn't go in that river, there's piranhas there, they'll strip you in 5 seconds. They don't know what they're talking about.
No.
It's a hoax, it's a tale. And on WildBOYZ, we did learn a lot of these things.
But what about the caimans and the crocodiles and
the
alligators?
spectacled caiman, they're small and pretty much harmless, but the black caiman, no, that'll kill you.
Okay.
But
check.
There's also, the anacondas.
Don't pee, don't swim, but you can hang out with the piranhas.
But I think it's the black caiman, which it doesn't look at all like a caiman. Most caimans you imagine, are like basically like small alligators or small crocodiles, right? The black caiman is this giant beast that is like probably one of the biggest members of the crocodile family.
How big?
Oh. Like no, they're like they're just as big as like most crocodiles. Like they're enormous, and I mean I've seen an enormous one as big as your average Nile crocodile, but stockier. Maybe not as long as your Australian crocodiles, but just as ill-tempered.
Yeah.
But no, just as dangerous.
Crocs are everywhere.
They're
everywhere.
They are everywhere. There's so many more types of crocodiles than people know. And alligators, crocodiles, gavials, caimans, any members of those family, they're all over the tropics. And if the people don't know that they're there so often when they are there, like when you're in Florida or in a waterway and you see one on the riverbank, if you jumped into that swamp with a snorkel on, if you saw one on the river, there's probably 20 just below. And I've done it before, and I was like, whoa, it's shocking. But if you act, I have another thought on that. One of the things we did on WildBOYZ was swimming around. We spent a lot of time in the swamp because swamp is where awesome animals live. And I wondered, in my time in the swamp, why when we'd swim around down these canals with Manny Pwig, and there'd be such little room sometimes. You'd be swimming and the water would get really shallow, and passing under you, an alligator, like a giant alligator, where its whole back rubs against your body going the opposite way you are, and then you're going and just like that, and whoa, I wonder why he didn't eat me.
So he thought that you were also an alligator.
That's what I deduced. Then months later, I hear about some guy swimming in the canal in Florida getting his arm bit off, and I'm like, why didn't they do that to us? And I realized that it was the way we did it.
Yeah,
we were acting. They thought we were alligators.
Chill.
We had our swim fins on.
You were swimming.
We were just basically acting like alligators.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't think we realized it at the time, but I think that's why it was cool.
Well, isn't that why people get attacked? Is because they're in a panic? I
think they're just not. They're probably acting more like prey, splashing about, acting like they're a herd animal. That's what attracts them. But yeah, we were just they probably just took us for another alligator.
And I think we
they're such
know
primitive.
that from the shark.
Yeah.
With Poopy, so
too. Yeah. Basically, you act like prey, you get treated like prey. And a lot of things in the animal world, just like humans, like are the same. Like, oh, this thing runs from me. It must be something that I'm supposed to eat.
Right.
Like,
so that's why you just gotta, you know.
A lot of things in nature, like if you do the opposite of what its instincts tell it, then it doesn't. It's like, oh, that's not in my programming. Yeah. Like, shark's coming, but why is this thing swimming towards me? Like, you swim right towards it if you can do it. It's very counterintuitive, but it doesn't know what to do. It's not in its programming. Like, oh, this is not food then.
What animal would you
And we're actually pretty big.
What animal would you be most scared of in the wild? If like you know, with your experience and stuff like that, like what would you be most scared of? Like
in the wild? I'll tell you the animal I'm most afraid of is not a wild animal, is bulls, because they don't act like wild animals at all. And I'm not really terribly afraid of I mean, I'm not an idiot either, but I don't like messing with bulls, like, just because they don't act like wild animals. They're actually these fighting bulls. They're bred to like just be aggro towards people.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not natural. Like, so they're horrifying. But I don't, because that's not a wild animal. What wild animal am I most afraid of? I don't like messing with big cats just because they're just like like when a little cat, like, they're unpredictable. Like, it could be totally cool, but then all of a sudden just like your house cat, they get a wild idea and like want to go like that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then, but it's with the giant cat, and then it just decided to swat you out of nowhere just because it's being a weird cat. And then you're dead, like, because it was huge. But I've had some scary things with big cats before, but that's probably what but I'm not afraid of them. I mean, then again, like, I would go film with them. I think they're rad.
Like, I think a lady just got attacked by a bison, like, recently.
A lot of times when
because I think the bison are, I mean, I'm scared of bison.
They don't want to deal with people too, but when I've seen people that get attacked by bison, they usually kind of had it coming. They were trying to instigate it. Like, I saw a guy when I was a kid throwing grass on a bison because he wanted it to stand up for his photo, and it attacked him. Moose
like
attack people during main season.
Don't they kill everyone?
Yeah, they kill people. Yeah.
And they look so cool.
That's the other time when you don't want to swim with alligators. When they're killing people?
No, the moose. Like, don't you think
they do
like
look
moose
cool when they're attacking people.
Look cool? Like,
they're super cool.
They
looking.
look nice.
But they do look cool when they're attacking
like,
people
they've
too.
got this they're pretty, and they've got this small body.
I thought you meant they look cool when they were attacking.
Oh, they look cool.
But they do look cool when they're attacking too.
Everything looks cool.
During mating season, that's when all animals can be dangerous. Like, that's the other time when alligators will just attack you.
Oh, yeah, because of moose. Don't they eat moose too?
No, they don't live in the same places.
Oh, okay.
They probably would.
I don't know.
They probably would have weird interactions if they did meet, but they don't. They live so far apart from each other. Like, one's more of a subarctic animal, and one's more tropical.
You know so much about animals.
I've been studying since I was a kid. Like, since I could, like, look at books.
I know, it's like, actually, I'm amazed because, like, I'll point to an animal and Chris will know every, like, species and subspecies of it. And I'm like, wow, he's really smart. Like, Chris is actually really smart. Like, he's actually really, really smart.
When I was a kid, I was planning to be a zoologist, and I was really into animals. I even gave, like, an animal report to my class every week briefly.
Oh, yeah, what was your favorite animal?
My first animal I reported on was maybe a pangolin, I think. First one I did. It was whatever, like, my favorite animal at the moment was. Pangolins were always one of my favorites. And hyenas are a big favorite. Yeah. Kangaroos I liked for a while.
He wanted to name our child Hyena. And I was like,
if it was a girl.
Okay. Yeah. And I was like, no. Like, I'm not naming a girl like Hyena Pontius. Hyena Pontius.
Well, you named our son Axe.
Yeah, I know, but but that's different though. Hyena, like,
it's a rad name for a girl. But hyenas are like, they're one of my favorites. They always will be. And I love seeing them in the wild. They're such a smart animal. They're an animal that you should be afraid of. And a lot of people that we've worked with in Africa, like animal, like wrangler or just animal expert people, are more afraid of hyenas than any lion.
I remember meeting that hyena, and he's like, okay, don't get close because they're
super smart.
Oh, was it a he or
it was a she? She's the female. It's a matriarchal society,
right? With the longest.
The females.
Mock penis, right?
They have a mock penis. So hyenas have a mock penis. The females have a mock penis, and they have mock scrotum as well. So female hyenas have complete control of who they mate with. their genitalia allows them to decide. No one takes advantage of a female hyena, and they're much bigger than the males.
Hyenas are woke.
Oh yeah. I don't know. They're a matriarchal society.
They'll just kill you.
But they're really smart. And like when we did that like hyena football toss, we were actually at this place in Africa where this dude had taken in all these hyenas and he just had them in this giant ranch running around. And he was friends with them all. It was bizarre. Like these hyenas loved him. Like, and
Is
they
he
weren't
still alive?
Yeah, definitely. They're not tame. I don't think you can really tame them. But they were just like his friends, and they did like cuddle him, like they'd see him and they'd be like, like
kind of like the bear guy. Like, I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Him. Yeah, and so we had these hams, and we're throwing them around, and they very quickly figured out like if one guy throws the ham, instead of running to that guy, like have one hyena guard the guy because he's gonna throw the ham back. They figure you out so fast.
He's like Axe figures you out really quickly.
Yeah. Like, they're one of the smartest animals.
Yeah.
And they're way bigger than people think they are. And actually, they're not the scavengers that people think they are. Usually, it's the lions trying to steal their kills. Yeah. And also, another thing about hyenas makes them rad is, they're not the most graceful runners, but they can run for like a day. So like when they're chasing some like impala or like anything, zebra, the thing's like faster than it. But then, the hyena just doesn't give up. And then it's like, all right, I've been running for an hour and it looks like, way in the distance, the hyenas are still coming. Like,
they're like zombies.
Yeah, they don't stop.
They still go.
Yeah, and eventually they're going to catch up.
Yeah. No, that's true. I remember reading
it. He's like, he'll run all day. But I did come across some, we were in Kenya, and we'd been filming like all night, and we barely got any rest. In the morning, we had to wake up like super early. We got lost, and finally we got back at like 4 a.m. We slept 2 hours, and we're supposed to film like this air balloon safari, like go over the park in an air balloon. And I was in the air balloon, and I like before it got too high, I jumped out of it, and I just was like, it felt like running down the trail. Sorry. And so they went in the air balloon, they saw like a lion with a fresh kill. And I was running, and when they landed, I got naked, and I saw these hyenas, and I guess I was delirious. And even though I talk about how afraid I would be of hyenas. In a G-string
or no?
Totally naked. Just naked except for my belt. My Naked Natives outfit.
Naked Navy, yeah.
So, and I went running after the hyenas naked, and they kind of flipped out and they ran away. They're just like, who is this naked dude?
With a belt.
Yeah, just a belt on. They ran.
Who's this naked belted man?
And looking back on it, it was kind of foolish of me. Like, but I was just like, because Naked Natives was a mainstay of we do whenever we saw like, a few giraffes, like when we were going down the road, we'd just get naked and go running after them. And it was just like this, like running gag on WILDBOYZ, because Naked Natives was something me and my brother invented when we were little kids. We'd like run around I grew up like in the country, and we'd run around the lands, like the fields, like naked except for our belts. Like we'd see natives in like shows or whatever. And well, I wanted to be like them. I always wanted to be like a native living in the jungle. And so then my brother would just do what I did. So he was naked one day. We had a friend whose mom was very nice woman, but really more conservative than our family. And she came over to pick up her son. And she walks in the front door, and she didn't know my brother was hiding like on this window seat behind the door, and he just dives on top of her back naked. And she's like, ah. And Naked Native got her. And she didn't know what to do. She wasn't prepared. And so I think, the hyenas, I don't know. They did take off. I think they were just kind of startled by me. I don't know, but yeah, you shouldn't do that. And also, I later realized that it was a really stupid place for me to be running in the first place, because the guys in the balloon saw like a lion sitting by like some impala it just killed, and like I just was like walking down the track. I like took the safari on foot. And the idea of it.
Did you have shoes on?
I had some flip flops, some thongs.
Thongs.
Yeah. Thongs are also what you can wear on your feet, like flip flops. In Australia, you call them that, don't
thongs.
You? Yeah, it's the same thing. It's when it forms that Y.
Makes sense though.
Yeah, it's the same thing as what you wear on your body. So I realized that this was like in the wild. Early morning is like when like it's like dinner time, or it's almost like dessert. Like everyone's just like kicking back next to like their meal. And it's a hot time for animals, especially sharks too.
Oh.
We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Well, I think this first recording was a success. We learned things that we should have really known already. But
I know.
Especially about why that German girl spit on our friend, and that he actually deserved it. Loogied. And we had a great time.
Spit is like.
No, she loogied on it.
Loogie's like
and he had it coming.
Snorting it up and then spitting it out. There's a lot of thought.
All these years, she was just misunderstood. He deserved it.
So next time you spit on your friend.
Or you get spit on, maybe you should do it. Maybe I have it coming. Maybe you put a skateboard wrapper around your penis.
I've had a stranger accidentally spit on me.
I've spit on a stranger.
Like I was walking and he spat, but then he helped me clean it up and it was really nice. And he spat on my shoe. Like I was walking. I was in Brooklyn.
Nice
I was in Brooklyn, and he was like,
"That's a very Brooklyn thing to happen."
That was a very Brooklyn thing to happen.
I spit on a guy's car once, and in the morning I was a little hungover. I did a big loogie in a car. This Mercedes just happened to be riding right up to me, and the guy got pissed, wanted to fight with me, and I apologized. I was so sorry. And he still wanted to fight. I was like, and then finally I blew my top. And he was kind of a brutish guy too.
And then you spat on him.
Jeff Tremaine was driving the car. And he was trying to get away from him, and I was like, I said I was sorry. I didn't mean it. I just spit and it happened. Your car pulled up. If you want to start a fight over it, fine. And like I said it in
you
much
wrapped him up
British
in plastic.
I wrapped him up in cellophane. What if it was a wild elephant? I'd wrap him up in cellophane. No, but that reminded me. I was at the skateboard contest in Encinitas is when I was about 17, and a car turned around a corner. You guys being skateboarders will love this. It went around a corner and almost hit me and my friend Tony. And so I spit a loogie on the guy. It was this guy and his girlfriend. And he thought he was tough. And then about a little while later, Frank Harada comes up to us. And he's like, "Hey, did you guys spit on a guy?" And Tony's like, "Chris did." And he's like, "He almost ran us over." And the guy was there all riled up, ready to fight somebody. And he starts yelling at Tony. And I was staying right there. And he didn't even, and Tony's like, "I didn't spit on you." And he was obviously yelling at the wrong guy, and I was like, "Yeah, I spit on you," but yeah.
Oh, I think our child is crying. I can hear him.
You guys, thanks for joining us.
Sorry about the loogie.
Axe just woke up from his nap. We'll see you next time.